One of the most fiercely contested questions in the Middle East right now is who will be responsible for rebuilding and governing Gaza once the conflict ends. Adam Harvey reports.
Hezbollah warned it would go on attacking Israelis in the strip of Lebanese land they occupy, and it's kept its promise.
As a 2 decades-long war between Israel and its northern neighbour Lebanon sputtered along in the mid-1990s, Australian soldier Gus McLaughlin was part of a UN peacekeeping mission. There was often no peace to keep.
We were rarely the target, but if we got in the way, they didn't stop. So it was not uncommon to have rockets or tank fire go over our heads, and as long as we got out of the way quickly, we were relatively safe.
The retired Major General is a veteran of conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. He found Israel stops for nobody, even UN peacekeepers.
The Israelis are not easy to work with. I've had confrontations with Israeli officers at the tactical level. Their position in the Middle East, they have chosen to be the toughest, baddest group on the block, meaning if someone else is threatening them, they will be tougher in response. So as a blue beret UN official, when we were often trying to stand between the Israelis and a group of people who might be accused of supporting Hezbollah, it was often quite dangerous and quite confronting.
Israel is still deep in the first phase of its war in Gaza. But when the fighting stops, someone must keep the peace. Arab states say they won't do it, and it won't be the United Nations.
And that's largely because of deep mistrust between the institutions of the United Nations and the Israeli government and military.
We have the United Nations forces, troops, observers here since 1948, 75 years. Absolute waste of money for the international community. We have now UNIFIL in Lebanon, a UN force. What do they do?
Israel pulled its military and civilians out of Gaza in 2005 at great political cost. There's little desire to repeat that pain.
Israel will not stay in Gaza. We will not establish a military governor administration in the Gaza Strip. We will finish the job, and then Israel will withdraw.
The Palestinian Authority, in power in the West Bank, is widely seen as incapable of governing Gaza.
You cannot get the Palestinian Authority in its present shape, weak, corrupt, very unpopular amongst Palestinians, to take over control of Gaza.
Like it or not, the remnants of Hamas may need to be part of the administration of Gaza.
We hope that Hamas will lose its ability to maintain an army the way they do now, that they are deprived of the ability to control and govern the Gaza Strip. But we are not going to be able to kill every single Hamas fighter, every single Hamas activist, so they are there.
I don't think you can end Hamas, and therefore, if Hamas is not ended, the whatever comes after a ceasefire has to be done in cooperation or in coordination with Hamas.
Daoud Kutab is a Palestinian journalist and commentator.
Any power on the ground in Gaza needs to be involved in any future agreement in Gaza. That's the only logical solution that can happen. I know this might sound anathema to Israelis and to the Americans and maybe to Australians, but there is no solution other than that. You have to include the local power in any kind of a system.
Some from the region have suggested bringing Hamas in to an expanded Palestinian Authority, so long as it recognises Israel's right to exist.
I don't know that the leadership of Hamas, certainly not the people who are outside, are willing to contemplate a recognition of Israel and, okay, let's sit to the table and negotiate. Nor is the Islamic Jihad willing to go this way. So it's a good idea, could probably work, but for that Hamas has to become a different movement. It's not easy.
The alternative risks the years of chaos that followed the US invasion of Iraq.
The Al Rashid was battered by the attack. The hotel is a temporary home for some of the most senior officials of the US-led coalition.
Gus McLaughlin saw what happened in the Middle East when you try to remove the local power.
As soon as we stopped working with them, we started fighting with them.
He was in Iraq in 2004 as the US stripped former Ba'ath Party members from government jobs.
The Israelis are insisting that they will remove Hamas completely from the governance of the Gaza Strip. So what does that mean about let's call it de-Hamasification? So there's going to need to be some really sensible practical decisions, because it was a disaster in Baghdad when we attempted to de-Ba'athify, because all of those people then pretty quickly became our adversaries.
If peace and security agreements can be forged in Gaza, then comes the mammoth task of rebuilding a ruined enclave, including its critical infrastructure like hospitals. Daoud Kutab says Israel won't do it, and Arab states are unlikely to commit money to a doomed project.
Reconstruction, it should not start until we know that this will not be destroyed again. We can't keep rebuilding and then destroying and rebuilding, and the Israelis destroy. That is not a solution that anybody